In fact, aspiration is underlined in the Veda throughout. It would seem as if aspire first, aspire second, aspire again and again, and aspire fully, and aspiration itself will give a result in the form of realization by certain processes. So this is the importance which is given in the Veda to aspiration. This aspiration is the movement of Agni. So the very first step of this yoga is the development of the powers of Agni. And that is why Sri Aurobindo has tried to bring out the epithets of Agni in the Veda and try to see what is this Agni. And surely, according to Sri Aurobindo, Agni is not the physical fire. It is not the fire which we light in a havan or yajna. Agni is a psychological force working in the whole universe, is a cosmic reality which is working in the earth. It is that which has been responsible for the evolution of the whole universe. This is the first statement. Agni, you kindle in your heart. This is the message of the Veda. Kindle Agni in your heart and kindle it day and night and always. And see that this is kindled in every home. Vishay Vishay. That is one of the expressions in the Veda, that Agni is to be spread from home to home. Let the aspiration rise in every home. Now, when Agni is sufficiently developed, then the second step is, and this is the answer to aspiration. This yoga consists of aspiration, that is of ascension and of descent. These are the two main processes of this yoga. The process of ascent and the process of descent. As you rise by the power of Agni, the first experience that you will get is the descent of Indra. So that is the second step in the yoga. Now, what is Indra? Sri Aurobindo, by analysis of the hymns which are addressed to Indra, he has come to this conclusion. We don't have time now to go into the exact understanding of various epithets given to Indra, but the conclusion is the following, that Indra is illumined mind. He is, wherever the word Indra comes, Indra refers to illumined mind. And Veda makes a distinction between mind and the illumined mind. It's a psychology of the Veda that what we call Dyav is mind. It is also called heaven in the Vedic language. Whenever the word heaven is used in the Veda, it is normally referred to the human mind. But whenever Indra is referred to, it refers to illumined mind. It's a level higher than the mind. Now, this illumined mind is also called the realm of Swaha. So you go from Prithvi, Antariksha and Dyav by the help of Agni. Agni is the main helper in moving from your body, life and mind. And when you still overshoot, try to go beyond it, as Agastya wanted to go beyond his mind, but wanted to go beyond mind by his thought processes, by maruts, by the help of maruts, then the first answer comes from Indra, the illumined mind. The illumined mind itself is a power, is a cosmic reality, a cosmic God who is intent on helping you. Indra is therefore a very kind, very helpful companion, full of illumination. One of the concepts in India is that Indra has number of eyes. In one of the propositions, it is called Shatakrato. It has 100 will forces. We have only a few will forces in our consciousness or mental consciousness. But the Indra has will force which is 100-fold. And he is also called Sahasra Chakshu. He has got 1,000 eyes. So that is the sign of his illumination. How much can you see with 1,000 eyes? That much is the consciousness and light of Indra. And Indra is not only light, he is also force. Shatakratu. Shatakratu means the will force. He is not only Sahasra Chakshu but Shatakratu, and therefore is a great power. A great power by which he is supposed to be the possessor of thunderbolt, a weapon by which many obstructions can be removed, can be shattered by the use of thunderbolt. Now that means that when you try to cross beyond the mind, then your hurdles, obstructions in your path become manifest. This is true of anybody who wants to do yoga. Anybody who decides to do yoga, you will find hundreds of obstacles coming in the way. There will be opposition from your friends, opposition of your relatives, oppositions from society, you'll be mocked at. All these are only simple obstructions. But you will find obstructions coming from yourself. On the one hand, you want to rise high. On the other hand, you find that you do not want to rise high. You are still dragged down. It is here that Indra, his help becomes necessary. So Indra is not only one who illumines you, but Indra is somebody who obstructions are settled by him. So this is the second step in the yoga of the Veda. Aspiration first. The second point is the coming of the Indra and helping you and taking you upwards. That is why the Vedic yoga at a given time is concentrated upon the worship of Indra. Just as in the beginning, worship of Agni is very much emphasized, at the second stage of yoga, the worship of Indra is very much emphasized. And all the mantras which are here in the Veda regarding Indra are extremely relevant at that point of sadhana. Now, with regard to the battle of Indra with the obstructions, we have a detailed examination of this battle in the Veda. In other words, the Veda tells you what kind of obstructions basically you will come across. And these are battles with Pishachas, Rakshasas, Asuras, Vritra or Vala, Dasyus, Panis. These are some of the prominent names which you find in the Vedic literature. It describes very vividly not only the nature of forces which obstruct, but even the beings which are present consciously to obstruct. It is a recognition that the process of psychological development of man, rising from our lower levels to the higher levels, is not a straight path. The discovery of these obstructions itself is a very great discovery. It is a result of a great deal of experimentation. You cannot discover all the enemies so easily unless you have confronted them again and again and seen them very vividly, confronted them, battled with them, and conquered them. That is why in many of the verses of the Veda, you find description of the battles. And very often, therefore, those who do not see the psychological meaning of the Veda, they think that the battles described in the Veda are the battles of the Aryans with Dravidians. And this is one of the bases of many people who interpret Veda in a historical sense as a description of a battle of the invasion of Aryans on India. And these Aryans came across inhabitants of Mohenjo-daro who were Dravidians according to them at that time. And they fought them and they established their own kingdom and drove away the Dravidians from north to the south. And therefore they said that Dravidians are now in the South India. And when they speak of the rivers and waters and so on, they think that it's a description of this Punjab and Gangetic plain, where the rivers and all kinds of waters are to be found. But if you understand the psychological meaning which is described there, and that's why Sri Aurobindo took the trouble of explaining what are the rivers, 7 rivers and 7 mares and 7 manis. These are not waters of Punjab, but they are psychological powers of higher consciousness flowing down and meeting the obstructions. So, in that context, Pishachas are the forces of the lowest part of our being. Rakshasas are the powers, great powers, which want the establishment and continuation of lusts, long-standing lusts, ambitions, greed, and forces which keep you in false egoism for years and years and centuries. These are the powers which want to devour you and want to take you so that all kinds of victories can be obtained for you by them so that you remain with them and do not try to move forward. And in our psychological experience,